Dorcadish, Rukmini Dorcadish, Rukmini Dorcadish. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Goranitai, 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 Goranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Go Premanandi Hari Haribo, Jaya Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahangsa Padapajak Acharya, Ustatar Sutta Sri Shriman, ISKCON BBT Founder, Shari Divine Grace, AC Bhaktivinoda Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Prabhupada Om Vishnu Pad is Divine Grace, Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Nam Acharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakohosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Brajamumanam Ki Jai Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Lachal Jagannath Pur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mayi Ki Jai Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai The most beautiful Lordship Shri Shukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadar Ki Jai Shri Shri Gornitai Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai Pre Harmadanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Haribo. All glories to the Assembly devotees, all glories to the Assembly devotees, all glories to the Assembly devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Gaur Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart. Today's text is 12. Adina Leela Hasite Ksanolasad Bru Panga Sangsuchita Bhuri Anugraham Iksheta Chintamayam Enam Ishwaram Yavan Mano Taranaya Vatishtate Adina Lila Hasitek Shanola Sad Brubanga Sangsushita Puryanugraham Iksheta Chintamayam Enamishparam Yavan Manodharanaya Vatishtate Adina Lila Hasitek Shanola Sad Brubhanga Sangsuchita Puryanugraham Iksheta Chintamayamenamishvaram Yavan Manodharanaya Bhatishtate Adina Lila Hasitek Shanola Sad Prabhanga Sangsuchita Puryanugraham Iksheta Chintamayamenamishvaram Yavan Manodharanaya Vatishtate. Please chant. Lila Hasitek Shanola Sad Brubhanga Sangsuchita Puryanugraham Iksheta Chintamayamenamishvaram Yavan Manodharanaya Vatishtate. Vaishnavis. Adina Lila Hasitek Shanola Sad Brubhanga Sangsuchita Puryanugraham Iksheta Chintamayam Enamishwaram Yavan Manodharanaya Vatishtate. So, synonyms: Adina, very magnanimous; Leela, pastimes; Hasita, smiling; Ikshana, by glancing over; Ulasat, glowing; Brubhanga, signals of the eyebrow; Sangsuchita indicated. Bhuri extensive. Anugraham benediction. Iksheta one must concentrate on. Chintamayam transcendental. Enam this particular. Ishwaram the Supreme Lord. Yavat as long as. Manaha the mind. Dharanaya by meditation. Avatishtate can be fixed. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse: the Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. Please repeat. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. So, a couple of notes. The purport is about 2¼ pages, which is a little lengthy. Prabhupada generally wrote about a page or less of purport for most verses, not because he couldn't write more, but the volumes would have been unwieldy. We would have had 3 times the size of Bhagavatam, and it would be very difficult to produce and to sell. So that was one reason why Prabhupada kept his purport short. But another reason is that he was always referring to the predecessor acharyas, their commentaries, and they, on many verses, said very little or sometimes nothing at all. So he kind of followed that trend also. When the predecessor acharyas had a lot to say about a particular verse, then Prabhupada also expanded. So not always one-to-one, but because sometimes in some verses where they said nothing, he said something. So, but generally those were the 2 guidelines for why we don't have all purports of this length or all purports very short. So today's is a little long, but when Prabhupada did take the time to write a long purport, it means that he really wants us to concentrate on this particular point or points that he's making. So try to hear attentively. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, text 5, it is said that the impersonalist undergoes a series of difficult programs on account of his impersonal meditation. But the devotee, due to the Lord's personal service, progresses very easily. Impersonal meditation is therefore a source of suffering for the impersonalist. Here, the devotee has an advantage over the impersonalist philosopher. The impersonalist is doubtful about the personal feature of the Lord, and therefore he always tries to meditate upon something which is not objective. For this reason, there is an authentic statement in the Bhagavatam regarding the positive concentration of the mind on the factual form of the Lord. The process of meditation recommended herein is Bhakti Yoga, or the process of devotional service after one is liberated from the material conditions. Jnana Yoga is the process of liberation from the material conditions. After one is liberated from the conditions of material existence, that is, when one is nivritta, as previously stated herein, or when one is freed from all material necessities, one becomes qualified to discharge the process of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga includes Jnana Yoga, or, in other words, the process of pure devotional service simultaneously serves the purpose of Jnana Yoga. Liberation from material conditions is automatically achieved by the gradual development of pure devotional service. These effects of Bhakti Yoga are called anartha nivritti. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along with the progress of Bhakti Yoga. Meditation on the lotus feet of the Personality of Godhead, the first processional step, must show its effect by anartha nivritti. The grossest type of anartha which binds the conditioned soul in material existence is sex desire. And this sex desire gradually develops in the union of the male and female. When the male and female are united, the sex desire is further aggravated by the accumulation of buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. When all these are acquired, the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed by such entanglements, and the false sense of egoism or the sense of myself and mine becomes prominent, and the sex desire expands to various political, social, altruistic, philanthropic, and many other unwanted engagements, resembling the foam of the sea waves, which becomes very prominent at one time and at the next moment vanishes as quickly as a cloud in the sky. That's quite a sentence. That was all one sentence. Hare Krishna. Anyway, we'll go back and discuss each point. The conditioned soul is encircled by such products, as well as products of sex desire, and therefore, Bhakti Yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in three headings, namely, profit, adoration, and distinction. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on the sex desire. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. The sex desire is diminished along with its various forms by the process of Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga automatically, by the grace of the Lord, effectively results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. Knowledge means knowing things as they are, and if by deliberation it is found that there are things which are at all unnecessary, naturally the person who has acquired knowledge leaves aside such unwanted things. When the conditioned soul finds by culture of knowledge that material necessities are unwanted things, he becomes detached from such unwanted things. This stage of knowledge is called vairagya, or detachment from unwanted things. We have previously discussed that the transcendentalist is required to be self-sufficient and should not beg from the rich blind persons to fulfill the bare necessities of life. Shukadeva Goswami has suggested some alternatives for the bare necessities of life, namely the problem of eating, sleeping, and shelter. But he has not suggested any alternative for sex satisfaction. One who has the sex desire still within him should not at all try to accept the renounced order of life. For one who has not attained to this stage, there is no question of a renounced order of life. So, by the gradual process of devotional service, under the guidance of a proper spiritual master, and following the principles of the Bhagavatam, one must be able at least to control the gross sex desire before one accepts the renounced order of life, factually. So, purification means getting free gradually from sex desire, and this is attained by meditation on the person of the Lord as described herein, beginning from the feet. One should not try to go upwards artificially without seeing for himself how much he has been released from the sex desire. The smiling face of the Lord is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are many upstarts who at once try to begin with the 10th canto, and especially with the 5 chapters which delineate the Rasa Leela of the Lord. This is certainly improper. By such improper study or hearing of Bhagavatam, the material opportunists have played havoc by indulgence in sex life in the name of Bhagavatam. This vilification of Bhagavatam is rendered by the acts of the so-called devotees. One should be free from all kinds of sex desire before he tries to make a show of recital of Bhagavatam. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur clearly defines the import of purification as cessation from sex indulgence. He says, Yata yata dishcha shujyati vishaya lampatyang tyajati tata tata tarayaditi chitta shuddhi taratamyenaiva dhyana taratamyam uktam. And as one gets free from the intoxication of sex indulgence by purification of intelligence, one should step forward for the next meditation, or in other words, The progress of meditation on the different limbs of the transcendent body of the Lord should be enhanced in proportion to the progress of purification of the heart. The conclusion is that those who are still entrapped by sex indulgence should never progress to meditation above the feet of the Lord. Therefore, recital of Srimad Bhagavatam by them should be restricted to the first and second cantos of the great literature. One must complete the purificatory process by assimilating the contents of the first 9 cantos. Then one should be admitted into the realm of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Shunyavane Paschatadeshtarine Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtang Stapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyahang Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishavangscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Ragana Tanmatam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripe Vancha Kalpatarubhya Shah Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the first point is about the fact that the impersonal attempt, or the attempt of the personalists to achieve spiritual advancement is very, very difficult. Prabhupada mentions here. So, as you may have heard from many speakers in the past, or at least some, that when Prabhupada first started preaching here in America, those of us who came in contact with his work, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, etc., and we heard Prabhupada kept hammering these impersonalists. We were wondering, who are these impersonalists? But we didn't realize at the time that Prabhupada is talking about us. It's not just some guys in India who, no. That's why in Prabhupada's Pranam Mantras we say, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarni. He's delivering the Western countries which are full of impersonalism and voidism. That means us. Not talking about just some Indian Mayavadi Swamis. No, us. We have a very, very impersonal understanding of reality. Even when we come to the spiritual realm, like many, many people still say, if you take a survey in America, that they believe in God, but they have some impersonal conception, even though they say God is the Father. In some religions, they say, their Savior, Jesus Christ, is the only Son of God. So I always ask them, then why do you call him Father? If Christ is the only Son, then why do the rest of you call him Father? You don't go to some stranger and call him Father. If you call somebody Father, it must mean factually they are your father. And if they're your father, then you're sons and daughters, just as Jesus Christ is a son. The distinction is that Jesus Christ is a pure Son of God. His activities, his intelligence, his consciousness were not polluted by sex desire, which is the pinnacle of material contamination, the sex desire. So this is called the adiras, the attraction between men and women. So Prabhupada begins his presentation on this problem today by quoting one verse from the 5th canto. Lord Rishabhadev in his teachings to his 100 sons in the 5th chapter, text number 8. Pungsakstarya mituna pavameta tayormito hridaya granti ahu atak grihak kshetra sutapta bittar janasya mahoyam ahangmameti. So Prabhupada explains this at length here in today's purport, that the beginning of this sex desire is the attraction between the male and the female. And that's there in every species. It's not just amongst human beings. Higher species going up to the demigods and lower species going all the way down to the ants all have this attraction. As you know, I was in India for 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks recently. Here in America, you don't see so much dogs on the street chasing each other, but in India, it's very prevalent because there are a lot of street dogs. And no matter what condition they're living in, abominable conditions, they're filthy, they're dirty, many of them have mange, they've lost most, if not all of their hair, but still, the male is looking at the mangy, hairless female going, yes, I would like to get involved with you. Chases her everywhere. And inevitably, this attraction between male and female also breeds envy. The temple president of the Sri Rangam ISKCON temple was taking me to his home. And when we turned one corner, one male dog had jumped on a female dog. And the other male dogs in the neighborhood came running and picked a fight and tried to break it up. Envy. Not that, okay, he's got her, I'll go find my own. No. And we see that in the human society also. A man has a wife, and other men want his wife. There are so many other women out there, but they'll go after his wife. Or vice versa. Man and woman are married, and another woman wants this woman's husband. So you get all these problems, and generally it breaks up families, divorce, or worse, murder. All kinds of violent activities occur. And we're not, again, talking about just low-class people on the street. Highest echelons of society, you see this going on. There was one story Sura told, but it was there in the news, about a woman, very wealthy family. She was married to, I think the husband was a doctor or whatever. Anyway, he got involved with another woman, dumped her, divorced her. So one day she went shopping, and lo and behold, he was in the parking lot. And she told the police that she accidentally ran over him. She accidentally stepped on the gas and ran over him. And they may have believed her if she hadn't backed up and ran over him again. So this is going on. This attraction between male and female is the shackle, the binding ropes that keeps us here in the material world. And this verse by Rishabdev explains, and Prabhupada is also explaining today in this purport, how it works. When that attraction takes place, then they get together, they get united sexually, and then the knot in the heart, Hridaya Granthi, becomes very, very strong. Previously, even sometimes just hours ago, you didn't know this person, never saw them in your life. But now because you're connected with them through sex, now she's mine, he's mine, and I can't imagine being without him or her. And it's artificial. This is the point that Prabhupada is making here. It's an artificial imposition on the consciousness, the pure consciousness of the living entity. The living entity, by nature, in pure consciousness, derives happiness simply by serving the personality of Godhead. That's where we get our happiness from. But when we come into this material world, we're convinced by Maya that we are number one, and we have to find our happiness through sense gratification. You're this body, and your happiness will come from gratifying the senses of this body. And we go for it, lifetime after lifetime. Now, the beginning of breaking that illusory existence, is knowledge. By hearing from someone in knowledge, Srila Prabhupada, the predecessor acharyas, we begin to comprehend and appreciate our actual position, that we're not these bodies, which it should be obvious to us, because the body's always changing, but we feel that we're the same. Most of us here are adults, 20, 30, 40, in my case, almost 70. So we have experience that we feel a constancy in our existence. Once we've passed the formative years, we feel a constancy. I am, I exist, and I keep track of the things, persons, objects that I interact with in my daily existence. But as the body transforms, I don't feel that I'm changing. The body is changing, not me. And I can remember all my previous bodies. Again, almost at age 70, I'm 68 in October, I can remember the 60-year-old body, and the 50-year-old body, and the 40-year-old body, and the 30-year-old body. So I was there. Those bodies are gone, transformed, or changed, whichever way you want to look at it. But I, the conscious knower of the particular body, I'm still here. And I remember those bodies. So it's very, very simple to understand, but just by Jnana, as Prabhupada is pointing out here, Jnana Yoga by itself does not bring you to the point of getting over the illusion that sex is going to make you happy. Jnana Yoga doesn't do that. It brings us to the point of understanding the seeing the picture of what's happening, but only by bhakti can one get out of the clutches of this sex attraction. And there's so many stories we know, so many stories. And again, it cuts through all levels of society, and it also affects women. This is not just about men, it's about women also. That attraction is there for the woman also. There are so many stories of very, very powerful, very elevated men in the spiritual realm of existence in the material world who have fallen down from their spiritual practice due to this attraction. I was just informed recently of one such person I was not aware of. In 2008, I think, or maybe 10, memory's not so sharp right now, I was in Zurich, Switzerland. I came into the temple room unannounced. The devotees didn't know I was going. I just dropped by. I was on my way elsewhere, actually. And I walk in during Bhagavatam class, and there on the Vyasa-san was this Indian-bodied person with long black hair all the way beyond his shoulder and long beard down to his chest. And he was talking some bogus stuff. So I sat and I listened, and then after the class I asked the devotees to please introduce me to this person. So they did, and we were taken to a room somewhere and we chatted for a while. And this guy was completely bogus. I asked him, are you connected to ISKCON? No. But when I was a boy, I grew up in Vrindavan, and when I was a boy I met Prabhupada, and he goes on and on talking all this stuff. So I said, this is bogus. So, you know me, I'm a god brother of the GBC members and so on. So I called all the GBC members that I knew, and I told them what was going on, and they immediately got down on the temple president and said, don't let this guy speak again. So actually, some of the devotees were mad at me because they're mesmerized. You know, he's a Brijbasi and he's talking all kinds of, you know, Leela, this, that, that. So they were mesmerized. But the edict came down from the GBC, no, he's not allowed to speak in ISKCON temples. Which is also Prabhupada's mood. He didn't even want his god brothers to speak in his ISKCON temples. So anyway, I just found out on this trip, while I was in Mayapur, I met the current temple president of Zurich, Switzerland. And I mentioned that incident, and he said, yeah. He said that guy went on to become very, very attractive yogi in Switzerland. He attracted a lot of followers, but then he fell down with one of his disciples because he was supposedly a sannyasi. He was wearing sannyas vesh, but he fell down with one of the disciples, so the rest of them became disillusioned and left him. So this is going on in the name of spiritual advancement. And some, it's not that they don't make any advancement. We know even from our own society, there are devotees who made a significant advancement in spiritual life, but because they were not completely surrendered to Krishna, then Maya always has that, whatever opening you leave, Maya can come in. And as Prabhupada points out here, the sex desire is not just for the gross sex, there's also profit, adoration, and distinction. These are the subtle urges that are also related to sex life. I want to profit from my work. I'm working for Krishna, but I want some profit from it. So this desire for profit is subtle sex urge. And adoration. I want to be adored. I'm not trying to imitate Prabhupada. No. But I'm a preacher, and if somebody adores me, so what? You know, like that. And so we would develop this desire to be adored. And distinction. Prabhupada made almost 5,000 disciples. Some gurus in this kind of a lot more than that. And we don't want to be just one disciple in a sea of disciples. We want to stand out somehow. I should do something by my preaching, by my service, by my opening a temple or whatever. I should stand out from the rest. This desire for distinction can crop up. So only by pure devotional service can we overcome the gross and subtle desire. Now, Prabhupada said at very least one has to control the gross desire before one can go on to the ashram of sannyas. But in every ashram we're meant to be trained in this mood of renunciation. In the very beginning of ISKCON, sometimes it was seen that persons who had trouble with brahmacharya living in the brahmachari ashram, simple life, working simply for the guru, and strictly avoiding association with women, they found it difficult. So they were falling down here and there. So the recommendation was, okay, get married. Wrong. That's the worst thing. That's the worst thing. Bad brahmacharis make bad grihastas. You cannot expect somebody who's having trouble in brahmachari ashram to all of a sudden get married and be a gentleman. It's not going to happen. They're going to have the same vision of looking at every woman like an opportunity to fall down. But brahmachari life means seeing every woman as mother. That's real vision. Chanakya Pandit says, Matarvat paradhareshu paradravyeshu loshavat armavat sarvabhuteshu pashati sapandita. One who has this vision of seeing every woman except his wife as mother. And of course, if you're not married, that means you don't have any wife, so you see every woman as mother. Matarvat paradhareshu paradravyeshu loshavat. And seeing other people's possessions like garbage in the street. In other words, there's no question of stealing or even misappropriating. No, if it doesn't belong to me, I have nothing to do with it. And treating all living entities like you like to be treated yourself. In other words, equal vision. Bhakti Tir Damodar Maharaj, he came here. He's originally from Africa. I forget which country, maybe Nigeria. Anyway, he gave a very wonderful class in Mayapur, stressing this point because the theme of this year's ISKCON Leadership Sangha was unity in diversity. So he was making a very strong point that there's no question of unity if you don't have equal vision. If you're making these distinctions, man, woman, young, old, fat, thin, tall, short, if your vision is driven by these dualities, these distinctions, then there's no question of unity. You see only diversity. You see? So part of being a bhakti yogi means being trained to see with equal vision all living entities. We're not making distinction that here's an Indian devotee, here's a South American devotee, here's a Russian devotee. No, devotee means devotee. Devotee is devotee. Chanting Hare Krishna, following these principles, working to carry on Srila Prabhupada's mission, that's a devotee. And it doesn't matter where they come from originally. It doesn't matter. Or what their current situation is externally. So this is necessary. One has to have this vision of unity, of unified vision, of Pandita Samadarshana, Vidyabanaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavihasani, Sinichaiva Sapakecha, Pandita Samadarshana. One has to have this equal vision. Again, it doesn't mean that we're blind. We don't see the color of somebody's skin or we don't see whether they're tall or short. But it doesn't drive our interaction. You see? Like somebody walks through the door right now. We don't interview them first. What kind of car did you drive? Where do you live? No. They come through the door. Hare Krishna. Have you ever been here before? We show them the deity. We give them charanamrita. It doesn't matter what their background is. It doesn't matter. So that should be there in all dealings. We don't deal with each other as South American or Indian devotees or black or white or even male or female. We need to see beyond that. But we can't be artificial about it, you see? As Prabhupada indicates in his purport today, you should be able to test yourself whether or not you're still affected by this sex desire. You can test yourself. Just as when you eat, you know yourself whether you're satisfied. You don't have to come and ask me, Prabhu, I just had breakfast. Am I satisfied? You know. You know whether you're satisfied or not. So similarly, we know, every one of us knows how we are affected to this day, or still, by sex desire. But it's not that we can administer a test to everybody publicly or something like that. We can't give you the Shukadev Goswami test. The Shukadev Goswami test is when he left home, he was naked. And he went by a stream, a pond, where women were bathing naked. And he just kept walking and they didn't cover up. So when his father Vyasadeva came by, they covered up. So he stopped and asked them because he was running after his son, my son, my son. But when he saw the ladies covering up and he saw what had happened, he said, hey, my son just walked by here. You didn't cover up. And they said, he does not make any distinction between male and female. How do they know that? Because they looked at his body. There was no transformation. So we don't have to give you that test. Okay, Prabhu, I'm ready to take sannyas. Give me the Shukadev Goswami test. Why don't you have a bunch of ladies naked in a pool and then I'll walk by and you can see with them? No, we don't administer such tests. Nor do we give the Haridas Thakur test. As you know, Haridas Thakur was tempted by the prostitute twice. There was a prostitute and there was Maya Devi herself. So we don't test that like that either. That, okay, Acharya Narottam, you ready to take sannyas? Okay, we're going to send a prostitute to your room in dead of night and see how you react. No. But you should know internally where you are. You should know. And be honest. If you're not honest, then you'll get in trouble. And the same goes for the women. The women can also be tested. Arjuna, when Arjuna went to the heavenly planets, he was approached by the wife of Indra because she was very attractive, earthling, human, but very attractive. So she proposed to him to enjoy. And he declined. He said, no, Indra is my father, you're his wife, so you're like my mother. I cannot do that. And she got angry and cursed him to become a eunuch. So we could test the women also, find some very handsome, hunky guy and send him to see if you're ready for the next step in life. So no, we don't do that. As a society, we don't go around giving these kind of tests. But you should be, again, aware. If you're not totally asleep and totally dull, you have to be aware of where you are on this particular point and be honest. And we should want to get rid of all of these material desires, chiefly of the sex desire. As you know, again, I was traveling in South India, so I went to some of the famous temples like Balaji, Sri Rangam, etc. So the Balaji temple is near to our Tirupati ISKCON temple, which is a very beautiful temple, very nice. So I gave class there, and I asked the devotees frankly, I said, you all live here in Tirupati, how many of you have been to see Balaji? So most of them raised their hands. And I said, now be honest, when you go before Balaji, because to go before Balaji, it's really, really time consuming. It makes you understand that Indians in general are very patient and very determined. It can take, if you take the general darshan, just in the general line, it can take 5-6 hours to get to see the deity. And then only you see him for like a second. Whereas if you get what they call a passport darshan, it's prearranged and like that. So I went on the passport darshan. And even that took like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. So I asked the devotees, I said, when you went before Balaji, what did you pray for? Because that's the whole idea. Everybody goes before Balaji to pray for something. What did you pray for? Another name for Lord Balaji is Venkateshwara. Venkata means Vaikuntha and Ishwara means controller or Lord. So he's the Lord of Vaikuntha. So if you go before the Lord of Vaikuntha, what would you ask for? So I asked them, what did you ask for? And I said, be honest. So one young devotee said, well, when I went before Balaji, I asked to get a job. So like this, most people go before Balaji and other deity forms, even our deity form, to ask for something material. A job, money, a wife, or to get away from a wife. Everybody has some material desire they want to fulfill. But that's not very smart. If you go before the Lord of Vaikuntha, why is it called Vaikuntha? Because in that world, in the spiritual world, there are no kuntas, no miseries, no problems. So if you're before the Lord of Vaikuntha, why not ask him to take you to Vaikuntha? Why do you want to stay in this world and get a job? That's foolish. If you want a job, then go take an interview at IBM or wherever. You don't need to go before the Lord and ask for that. You see? So people are mistrained. Even when they take to the spiritual path, they're still holding on to material desires, chiefly this sex desire. Why does he want a job? I didn't put him on the spot. But why does he want a job? To earn money. Why does he want money? That's explained in that verse. Tayomato hridaya granti atta griha kshetra sutapta vitar. We want, and once you get involved with a woman or a man, vice versa, then first thing is griha. You need a nice apartment, a nice house. Kshetra, you need some land. At least previously you needed some land to produce grains. But if you have a house obviously has to sit on some land somewhere. So griha kshetra, suta, sons, apta, relatives, vittaya, wealth. So all of that comes, and Prabhupada says it's simply entanglement for the spiritual soul. We become more and more entangled. Now somebody who was a free brahmachari, now he's got a wife, he has to worry about money and paying taxes and this and that. It just becomes bigger burden. So to go before the Lord and to pray to put a burden on my head, like that story of the old lady, very, very devout, but living in a community where every day the women had to take long trek into the forest to get firewood because they were still using wood for their fuel. So she went with some younger ladies, all miles and miles from home. They collected each a big bundle of sticks. And the young ladies, obviously being very, very well trained, respectful, they helped the old lady put the bundle of sticks in her head. But because they were younger, they went ahead and she fell farther and farther behind. So she's walking by herself and all of a sudden she hears, "Arr!" Because in those days there were lots of tigers in India. So she was startled and the bundle fell off her head. So now she's praying, "Oh, my dear Govinda, my dear Gopal, please help me. My dear Lord, please help me." She's praying fervently and the Lord appeared before her. Krishna appeared. "Yes, mother, what would you like?" So what does she ask for? "Please help me put the sticks back on my head." Krishna appears before you today. What would you ask for? Money, a wife, a job? You see? So let's not make fun of the old lady. If she appeared before any one of us today, what would we ask for? So I told that young man in that class in Tirupati that honestly, while I'm traveling through India, I'm going to all these temples, every single deity that I bow down in front of, I'm praying, "Please, my Lord, remove from the core of my heart desire for material sense gratification and replace it with a desire to serve you under the guidance of your pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada." That was my prayer. Every single temple I went to, bow down in front of the deities, that's what I'm praying for. Because that's how Prabhupada trained us. And intelligently, it makes sense. Why would you pray for anything else? Why do we want to stay in this miserable material world? Because of this sex attraction. This is the main reason. Because we think if I stay here, I'll make something of myself, I'll get money, I'll get land, I'll get a house, I'll attract a nice mate, we'll have pleasure. No, Bhakti Yoga does not deny association with the opposite sex, but it has to be done in a controlled manner. We know, again, we've said so many times, the Panchatattva, Lord Chaitanya, was he married or single? He was married twice. Lord Nityananda had 2 wives. Advaita Acharya, he was married. You see? So the majority of the Panchatattva were married. Prabhupada himself was married. His Guru Maharaj was not. His Guru Maharaj was. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was married. So in our line, we have so many married acharyas, showing us that it's not that you shouldn't associate, but you have to associate for the right reasons and in the right way. In this very room, Prabhupada said once that married life does not mean a license just to have sex whenever you want. He said, all my female disciples are beautiful, but it's not because you have a beautiful wife, every time she smiles, there should be sex. He said that right here in this room, in New Dwarka. So the Bhakti Yogi is trained to engage with the opposite sex in the right mentality. Not seeing the wife or the husband as an object of my sense gratification, but seeing them as partners in going forward in spiritual life in service to the Lord. And when we have that proper mentality, that proper vision, then married life is not a hindrance. Prabhupada even said once, if one has a helpful, spiritually advanced wife at home, one does not need to take sannyas. So, I mean, there's a lot more that could be said. I'm sorry the time is gone, but this purport is extremely important. Maybe read it again during the daytime. Very clear points that Prabhupada made. And yes, this is what's keeping us here in this material world. We have to take it seriously. Don't play fast and loose with it. This is what happens. We make some spiritual advancement, we're feeling strong, and then we become a little slack. You know, now instead of associating as recommended by Prabhupada, right here also in New Dwarka, because he saw his servants who were male, they were developing strong desire to get married. Why? Because they were associating loosely with the women. So he said, when you associate, it's pass the salt, Mataji. If you're working together in the kitchen, please pass the salt. You're making a sabji, there's a woman there. You don't go to the kitchen or the pujaari room to try to make dates. You go there to serve the Lord. And in so doing, of course, there will be some interaction. And Prabhupada said, I am criticized for this because I allow men and women to live in my temples. But that's because those who are criticizing, they don't know how to push on Krishna consciousness to everybody. So I'll end with this, that Lord Chaitanya's movement is that we take shelter of Krishna by taking shelter of his holy name, this chanting of Hare Krishna, both in japa and in kirtan. This is our protection. If we really dive into, and this is what going to Mayapur really helps with. You go to Mayapur, you go to Mangal Arti, there are 600 devotees, 700 devotees, and this is before the festival. This is just for ILS. When the festival starts, Gaur Purnima is going to be 3 times that much, if not 4 times that much. So I didn't have time, because I just came yesterday, to put together the visual presentation that I normally do. Next class I'll do that, and I'll say more about each of the temples that I visited. But this is our remedy. The remedy for sex desire is dive into the chanting of Hare Krishna. Chant your rounds like there's no tomorrow. And same thing with the kirtan. Every kirtan is special. You know, it's nice that we show up to the kirtan, but if we're here already, why not get into it? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also said that it's very difficult in the beginning when we're starting out to become really attached to chanting rounds and chanting nicely. But it's much easier to get attached to the kirtan. And the secret is, if you really get into the kirtan, then your rounds will improve. You'll really develop more of an attraction for Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. We can take the discussion outside. It's already half past.